Hormazd Sorabjee joins us now, editor with Autocar. It's so nice to have him back and talk about cars and more cars, because there are over 100 cars which are going to be launched in 2024. I've been told it's over 100 cars in 2024.
Well, I don't know if it's that many, but if you count a lot of the variants, there are quite a few. I think, I think the main thing is that we've got some big launches coming from, let's say, Maruti, and any big launch from Maruti can really move the market. You've got launches coming from Hyundai, and these are all coming in the mass segment. So I think in that sense, you've got quite a few launches coming from the big players. Honda again, they elevate their first big SUV. So I think, yeah, it's going to be a very interesting year.
What do you think auto companies are essentially betting on? Are they betting on revival and restoration of supply chain, or are they betting on making the cars big? Because suddenly the SUV market is vibrant. The Indian buyer who used to buy a cycle, then a scooter, and then a small car is straight away moving from no cycle, no scooter to a big car.
So I think honestly, what they are betting on and what's really saving the auto industry, been a big change in consumer mindset of feeling people are willing to pay much higher prices for vehicles than what they originally paid. Today the cheapest car, which is an Alto, is really no longer cheap, and clearly they are consumers are bypassing that and going to higher segments. So I think it's a very interesting situation where the customer is just no more price conscious. He's more value conscious, willing to spend a lot more. And I think that's really working for the manufacturers, because they've really been saved by this consumer mindset, because prices have gone through the roof. If you see the way the car prices have shot up because of emission regulations, because of supply issues, raw material issues, logistics issues, it's just been crazy. But I think the it's been absorbed largely by the consumer, and I think with that, I think we won't see. I don't think we're going to see some crazy growth like we did the years before, because we had a small base, coming out of COVID, the COVID impact. But I think growth will still be there, but may not be double digit. But I think it'll still be strong, fueled by some key launches like the Jimny, for which Maruti said they've got 25,000 bookings already. You've got the Exter coming from Exeter. I don't know how you pronounce it. A lot of funny names today, which Hyundai launching. You've got the Fronx, which Maruti had just launched earlier this year. So a lot of key launches coming in, and I think that's in the mass segment, and that's what's going to drive growth.
Yeah, he hit the nail on the head, Nikun, something that you and I have always been talking about. Who comes up with these names? Jimny, Fronx.
And they're really originals. I mean, the creative behind this, it is not like an extension of a proper noun. It is not something which is acquired from a dictionary of any other global language.
God knows how they come up. And Hormazd, you would know better than us.
Yeah.
How do they come up with names for these cars?
They kind of, it's an amalgamation of what it stands for, so I mean, it's Fronx has some, I don't know what it is, but they have some reasons of frontier and new frontier or something like that. So it's crazy, but thankfully no car is bombed because of a bad name. Yeah. So it's in the end, it's the product that counts. Yeah.
Maruti, I can tell you, it is more like Hindu mythology, because Lord Hanuman is also called Maruti.
Maruti, yeah.
So small car but a powerful car. That was the 1980s, but now the new names, I mean, it was a small car in 1990s, but it was supposed to be a powerful car.
Or you go the Mahindra way and do it all alphanumeric. So
that's
very
numerology.
Elon Musk-ish.
Yeah, so I think I mean, anyway, what's in a name, as they say.
Yeah, but tell me, I mean, is it then clear that Hormazd, much like 2022 or even before that the focus is going to be on urban SUVs?
Yeah, it is going to be on urban SUVs largely, and so I think that's really the sweet spot right now for both the consumer and the manufacturer. From the manufacturer's point of view, they will do SUVs because the margins in SUVs are much larger. because they can charge a premium on it. So the cost of production is very marginally more than, let's say, a sedan equivalent. So they prefer doing SUVs. It helps them. That's what customers want also. I think, honestly, it's our road conditions which are also driving that. We might be getting great roads, but the roads are still in appalling conditions, especially in Mumbai. They're just getting worse and worse. Even when they do a new road, it's a bumpy road. It's an uneven road with sharp ridges. So I think it's driving, people more and more towards SUVs. Fundamentally, they want the higher ground clearance, and they want the kind of road presence it has. These are the two factors which drive it. And of course, the practicality that they come with. You've got the space, you can get a lot of luggage. So I think clearly SUVs are still the sweet spot. And again, what's driving it is, in every new manufacturer is only launching SUVs. They aren't launching any other body style. So again, that naturally will push the SUV market share up, and the growth in SUVs. I mean, you take Citroen, you take Kia, you take MG, you take all the new players which have come. They're fundamentally coming into the SUV space. They're not really looking at sedans at all, or even hatchbacks. Citroen has got a small quasi hatchback, but it's got an SUV-ish look, and the new one again is an SUV. So clearly, SUVs is what manufacturers are launching more and more of.
Quite intriguing. But also, within this segment, are they now opening the pie to EVs, or is it still the ICE engine?
No, definitely EVs are going up, but I think that explosion in EVs will only come, I think, post 25, when you see Maruti come in, Mahindra come in, these two big players with their EVs. You've got MG right now with their little Comet, though, I think it's got limited appeal, but still they could do a couple of thousand. Tata ruling the roost, absolutely, with the Nexon. And, uh, it's getting hard to make a dent in Tata's market share because they're so well established. You see them all over the place. So they've really taken a strong lead in this. And it looks like they're hanging on to it for the time being. But this is a marathon, and they're just out of the blocks right now. But I see the big jump coming in around 2025, when you really see the mass market EVs in the market from other manufacturers other than Tata Motors.
Hormazd, hi, morning. What about luxury cars then? Because the March quarter, you did see a lot of these cars selling like hotcakes. What's happening right now? Are we seeing that continued demand? Who's at the top of the rung when it comes to the luxury car makers?
Well, I think, yeah, luxury cars again. Obviously, it's a booming segment, very small base still. I mean, we don't really do as very, very tiny compared to what we should be doing. Around 40 or 1,000 cars a year, which is just a minuscule, about 1% or thereabouts of the market, compared to something like China, which sells in hundreds of thousands of luxury cars. But again, in that space, Mercedes has just kind of completely ruled it. Between a 40+% market share, which is huge. So I think Mercedes has done an outstanding job in terms of the way they've kind of made their brand very desirable. They've not discounted it. They've got the full product lineup. The models are all fresh. And the India team is absolutely fantastic as well. So I think Mercedes really is, I would say, the Maruti, not to take it in a negative way, but of the luxury car space. They're really very dominant over there. And others are BMWs there. The Audis had a huge improvement, but again, off a small base. They've really had a big jump in sales. But the others, Jaguar, Land Rover, Volvo, still to catch up. So again, it's a very, very small pie, very few players. You don't have everyone in here. But it's growing. But again, I think there are limitations to what you can do with luxury cars because they're just very expensive. And it's finally the duty structure which is limiting the growth of luxury cars. And who knows in future FTAs if that may come down or not.
Okay, Hormazd, good to have you on board. Thanks so much for walking us through the latest launches and all that's happening in the world of auto. And interestingly, it's not just the roads, but the traffic snarls as well, which is why Amitabh Bachchan, Aisha, recently jumped onto a stranger's bike to avoid the traffic.
Surya Anushka
in
Sharma, that
Mumbai,
seems
is
to
it?
be a trend nowadays. Yeah, clearly. You'd have to do that, right?
Yeah,
Where are the
exactly.
roads? And there's so much construction everywhere. But anyway, all for a good cause.